Been so tough for you when you lost your wife. It was very difficult. My sincere condolences to you.
Thanks.
Do you find solace in work? Has that helped?
Yeah, well, when she passed, you know, it was so sudden.
Yeah.
So it really knocked the stuffing out of me.
For decades, Tom Jones has been the kind of artist people quietly assume will go on forever. Not because time forgot him, but because he refused to let it matter. His voice became a constant in an industry built on change. Generations came and went, trends rose and collapsed. Yet, Tom remained, not chasing relevance, but redefining it on his own terms. So when signs of him stepping away started popping up, it shook the industry. It arrived with a kind of understated finality that only deepened the mystery. Why would someone who had outlasted nearly everything start moving from the spotlight? Join us as we reveal the reason a Titan decided to pull away. Long before he became a global symbol of enduring showmanship, Tom Jones was known to most as Thomas John Woodward, a young man growing up in Pontypridd, a working-class town in South Wales. He was born on the 7th of June, 1940, and raised in a modest household as the son of a coal miner. His early life reflected the realities of Britain after the war, where industrial communities shaped not only livelihoods, but identities. Music, for him, was not initially a deliberately thought-out career path, but a natural extension of his environment as he sang at family gatherings, weddings, and local events, developing a powerful voice that stood out even before formal recognition found him. His teenage years were marked by both responsibility and uncertainty. At the age of just 16, he married his childhood sweetheart, Melinda Trenchard, and soon became a father. During this period, he took on various jobs, including work in construction and factory settings, to support his young family. These experiences grounded him in a reality far removed from the glamour he would later come to enjoy, and they contributed to the emotional depth that would become a hallmark of his vocal style. Tom first gained recognition in the early 1960s as part of local bands, most notably Tommy Scott and the Senators. Performing in clubs and dance halls across South Wales, he built a reputation for his commanding stage presence and distinctive baritone voice. His breakthrough came when he was discovered by manager Gordon Mills, who recognized his potential and rebranded him as Tom Jones, a name inspired by the popular 18th-century novel The History of Tom Jones, a foundling by Henry Fielding. This transformation marked the beginning of a carefully guided ascent into the mainstream music industry. The mid-1960s proved to be a turning point. In 1965, he released It's Not Unusual, a track that quickly climbed to #1 on the UK singles chart and made a significant impact internationally, including in the United States. The song's success established him as a major new voice in pop music, and it was soon followed by a string of hits such as What's New Pussycat and Green, Green Grass of Home. These recordings showcased not only his vocal power but also his versatility as he moved seamlessly between pop, soul, and country influences. His growing popularity was further cemented by live performances that became the stuff of legend. He was known for his energetic delivery and charismatic connection with audiences. He developed a reputation as a compelling entertainer, and by the late 1960s, he had become a regular presence on television, most notably through This Is Tom Jones, a variety show that aired from 1969 to 1971. The program featured duets with a wide range of artists, from soul and rock performers to established pop acts, reinforcing his ability to cross musical boundaries and appeal to diverse audiences. However, the 1970s brought both success and challenges. While he maintained a strong presence in Las Vegas and became a staple of the city's entertainment scene, shifts in musical trends began to affect his mainstream chart performance. The rise of new genres and changing audience tastes meant that artists from his era had to adapt or risk fading into obscurity. For him, this period became one of persistence rather than reinvention, as he continued to perform extensively even when chart dominance proved more elusive. The true reinvention came decades later. In the late 1980s and 1990s, he experienced a resurgence that introduced him to a new generation. His 1988 cover of Prince's Kiss, recorded with Art of Noise, became an unexpected hit, demonstrating his ability to reinterpret contemporary material while retaining his signature style. This success was followed by his 1999 album Reload, a collaborative project featuring artists such as The Cardigans, Robbie Williams, and Stereophonics. The album achieved multi-platinum status in the UK and reaffirmed his relevance in a rapidly evolving music industry. What distinguishes his rise is not merely the scale of his success, but the adaptability that sustained it. Unlike many of his peers, he did not rely solely on nostalgia. Instead, he embraced reinvention at key moments, aligning himself with new sounds and collaborators without abandoning the core elements of his identity as a performer. This balance between consistency and change allowed him to maintain a career that spanned multiple eras of popular music. By the turn of the 21st century, Tom Jones had firmly established himself not just as a singer of a particular time, but as an enduring figure in global entertainment. His journey from a small Welsh town to international acclaim reflects a combination of talent, timing, and an ability to evolve, qualities that would continue to define his career in the decades that followed. Career longevity and late-life resurgence. By the early turn of the century, Tom Jones had already achieved what most artists would consider a complete career full of chart-topping hits, international fame, and decades of live performances. Yet, rather than settling into nostalgia, he entered a phase that would further redefine his legacy. This period was not marked by a return to past formulas, but by a deliberate shift toward artistic credibility, live musicianship, and carefully chosen projects that aligned with his evolving identity. A key moment in this late career resurgence came with the release of his 2010 album, Praise and Blame. Departing from the pop-heavy productions of earlier decades, the album leaned into gospel, blues, and spiritual influences. It was produced by Ethan Johns, who had the idea to strip back the instrumentals and leave his voice at the center. Critics responded positively, noting the authenticity and novelty of the project. The album reached the top 10 in the UK, demonstrating that his appeal had not diminished, but rather matured alongside his audience. This creative direction continued with subsequent albums such as Spirit in the Room in 2012 and Long Lost Suitcase in 2015, both of which maintained a focus on roots-inspired material. These records were not driven by commercial trends, but by a commitment to musical exploration. Importantly, they reinforced his credibility among critics and younger listeners who may have previously associated him primarily with his earlier pop persona. Alongside his recording work, he remained a consistent presence on the live circuit. Touring had long been a cornerstone of his career, and even into his later years, he continued to perform internationally. His concerts were known for their emphasis on vocal performance rather than elaborate staging, a reflection of his confidence in his enduring ability as a singer. This commitment to live performance played a significant role in maintaining his global fan base. Another major factor in his continued relevance was his role as a coach on the television program The Voice UK. Joining the show at its launch in 2012, he brought a level of experience and authority that distinguished him from other coaches. His feedback to contestants often drew from decades of industry knowledge, and his presence helped bridge generational gaps within the audience. Although he was briefly dropped from the show in 2016, he returned the following year, a move that was widely welcomed by viewers and reinforced his importance to the program. His television work extended beyond mentoring. He also appeared in documentaries and special broadcasts that revisited his career and musical influences. These appearances contributed to a broader reevaluation of his place in music history, not just as a pop icon of the 1960s and 70s, but as a versatile artist capable of sustained artistic growth. Recognition of his contributions came in formal ways as well. In 2006, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, becoming Sir Tom Jones in acknowledgement of his services to music. This honor reflected both his commercial success and his cultural impact, particularly as one of Wales's most internationally recognized performers. What sets this phase of his career apart is the absence of decline typically associated with aging performers. Rather than fading from view, he adapted to new platforms and audiences while refining his artistic direction. His later work did not attempt to replicate past hits, but instead embraced a more introspective and musically grounded approach. By maintaining a balance between live performance, recording, and television, Tom Jones demonstrated that longevity in the music industry is not solely about endurance, it requires evolution. This period of resurgence ensured that his career remained active and relevant well into his later years, setting the stage for the more complex realities that would eventually influence his decision to step back. Health, age, and touring realities. As Tom Jones moved further into his 80s, the demands of a career built on constant performance began to intersect more visibly with the realities of age. Unlike earlier decades, when relentless touring schedules and long residencies, particularly in Las Vegas, were central to his professional identity, recent years have shown a gradual but noticeable adjustment in how and when he performs. This shift has not been sudden or dramatic, but it reflects practical considerations that are both verifiable and consistent with his public appearances and statements. One of the most concrete indicators has been changes to his touring schedule. While he has continued to perform live well into his 80s, his tours have become more selective, with fewer dates and longer intervals between performances. This is a common adjustment among veteran artists, but in his case, it has been accompanied by occasional cancellations or postponements due to health-related issues. For example, in 2022, he postponed several concerts after contracting COVID-19, a situation he publicly confirmed. Although he recovered and returned to the stage, the incident underscored the increased risks that come with extensive travel and live performance at an advanced age. Beyond specific illnesses, the physical demands of touring itself have become a significant factor. Live performances require not only vocal stamina, but also the ability to travel frequently, adjust to different time zones, and maintain a consistent level of energy on stage. For a performer known for his powerful voice and commanding presence, maintaining that standard is particularly important. He has continued to emphasize the importance of preserving his vocal health, and his later performances often reflect a more measured approach, focusing on control and precision rather than the high-intensity delivery of his earlier years. Age-related considerations also extend to recovery time. Whereas younger performers might move quickly from one show to the next, older artists typically require more time to rest between engagements. This has contributed to a natural scaling back of his commitments, allowing him to continue performing without compromising his health. It is not a withdrawal from music, but rather a recalibration of how he engages with it. Another important aspect is the broader context of the music industry itself. Touring has become increasingly demanding in logistical terms, with tighter schedules and higher expectations for live production. For legacy artists like Tom, maintaining a presence in this environment requires careful planning and, often, difficult decisions about which opportunities to pursue. His recent choices suggest a prioritization of sustainability over volume, ensuring that each performance meets the standards he has set over decades. It is also worth noting that he has remained active in less physically demanding roles, particularly through his continued involvement in The Voice UK. This platform allows him to stay connected to the industry and to audiences without the rigors of touring. His presence on the show demonstrates that temporarily, stepping back from one aspect of his career does not equate to complete retirement, but rather a shift in focus. Taken together, it's clear to see reasons why he has begun to scale back his activities. The decision is not a sour of the moment, but a clear understanding of his own limits and the realities of sustaining a high-performance career over more than half a century. While we can speculate on the reasons surrounding his gradual step back, his own public statements present a far more grounded explanation. Public statements and confirmed reasons. Rather than pointing to a dramatic turning point, Tom has repeatedly framed his decisions in terms of practicality and a clear awareness of his physical limits. In interviews across the past decade, he has emphasized that he has no intention of fully retiring in the traditional sense. Instead, he has been careful to distinguish between stopping completely and simply doing less. He has openly acknowledged that age plays a role in shaping what he can realistically sustain, particularly when it comes to the intensity of touring. His comments also show that deep within, he continues to perform because he still enjoys it and believes his voice remains strong, but he is equally aware that maintaining that standard requires restraint. A recurring theme in his remarks is vocal preservation. He has stated that he pays close attention to how his voice responds to performances, adjusting his schedule accordingly. This matches perfectly with the observable shift toward fewer, more spaced-out shows. Rather than pushing through fatigue, he has shown a preference for ensuring that each performance meets his expectations, an approach that prioritizes quality over quantity. He has also addressed the broader realities of aging in a demanding profession. In multiple interviews, he has spoken candidly about the need to listen to his body, noting that recovery takes longer and that the physical strain of constant travel cannot be ignored. These statements are consistent with the gradual reduction in his touring commitments and reinforce the idea that his decision is proactive rather than reactive. Notably, he has not attributed his choices to a loss of passion for music. On the contrary, he has continued to express enthusiasm for performing and recording, as well as for mentoring emerging artists through The Voice UK. His involvement in the show highlights a key aspect of his current phase where he still remains engaged with music in ways that are sustainable and meaningful, even if they differ from the demands of his earlier career. He has also been clear in dismissing the notion of a single final moment that led to his decision. Instead, his explanations point to a gradual realization and understanding built over time that continuing at the same pace was neither necessary nor advisable. This perspective aligns with the broader pattern seen in his career: thoughtful adaptation rather than abrupt change. In addition to the touring and television work already noted, he has spent the past year engaging in a range of activities that reflect a more selective and legacy-focused phase of his career. Rather than pursuing new, large-scale commercial releases, he has continued to draw attention to his critically acclaimed later-era catalog, particularly Surrounded by Time in 2021, which remains a defining project in his recent output after reaching #1 on the UK albums chart and making him the oldest male artist to achieve that distinction. In interviews and broadcast appearances throughout 2020 and early this year, he has revisited the themes of that album, often discussing how its stripped-back production and choice of material better represent where he is artistically today. He has also remained active through carefully selected live appearances outside of traditional touring structures. These have included festival performances, heritage concerts, and one-off headline shows tied to major cultural events, particularly in the UK and parts of Europe. Unlike earlier decades defined by relentless scheduling, these appearances are spaced out and strategically chosen, allowing him to maintain a live connection with audiences without the strain of continuous travel. This approach aligns with his broader pattern of prioritizing vocal consistency and overall well-being. Beyond performance, he has continued contributing to the music industry through media and archival projects. Over the past year, he has taken part in radio specials and retrospective programming, where he has spoken in detail about his influences, early career, and collaborations. These appearances are not merely promotional. They serve as curated reflections on a career that spans more than 6 decades, positioning him as both participant and historian of modern popular music. His insights into recording techniques, live performance, and industry changes have been featured in interviews and documentary-style content, further reinforcing his authority within the field. He has also been involved in legacy-oriented productions, including documentary work focused on his life and career. These projects, developed in connection with major broadcasters, aim to present his story in his own words, combining archival footage with contemporary commentary. This kind of participation signals a deliberate effort to shape how his career is documented and understood, rather than leaving that narrative solely to external interpretation. In addition, he has maintained a presence at high-profile cultural and charitable events. Over the past year, he has made guest appearances at benefit concerts and national celebrations, often performing shorter sets or making ceremonial contributions rather than taking on the demands of full-length shows. These engagements highlight his continued public visibility while reflecting a shift toward roles that are less physically intensive, but still culturally significant. What are your thoughts on his life? Tell us in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.